Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a book unhaul, and usually when I do these videos I have really fantastic local used bookstores and I take my books in and then I show you how much store credit I get for them. But currently, even though things are starting to open up again, in my state we've had a spike of the sickness. I can't really go anywhere. I especially can't get sick because then there's nobody to help take care of my dad. So I can't show you that fun part. Basically, the unhaul is going to be these books aren't going to be on my shelf anymore. But the good thing is that I am going to be doing a giveaway. I am so excited for this giveaway, but I'll discuss that more when I get to that book. I know a lot of you are very interested in it. I know a lot of you would love to have it, so I'll give the details for that one when I get to it. But jumping in, the first book on this list is one that it bums me out. I was not a fan of this book, and that would be King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. I actually have already had the chance to. Man, to say get rid of this book sounds so aggressive, but I already had the chance to hopefully have that get a home somewhere else where it will be loved more. I have an entire review for it, so I'll link that down below. But this is a story that takes place within the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. You do want to read the Six of Crows duology and then the Grisha trilogy before reading this one because it absolutely ties in characters from All Fat. And I was really excited to get to this one because I think Six of Crows, whether or not you like those books or not, I do think that Six of Crows showed that Leigh Bardugo could have a continuation within the world that she's created. I think sometimes that can be really tricky, but I think she did a great job of that from Grisha to Six of Crows. I think she kind of had these two distinct stories, but then we follow a character we already know from the original Grisha trilogy, and then you have some other characters from Six of Crows that pop up in King of Scars, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be like a family reunion. Like, I was so pumped for that book, and the first half was so good. Anyway, this isn't a book review, so I should just stop going off about it. But basically, the second half of the book, it was totally a preference thing. I just didn't like the direction the plot went. I will likely still eventually pick up the second one when it comes out just to see what happens, and a little bit that completionist in me. You know, if it was a PlayStation game, I would get a trophy. But I don't really anticipate the second one redeeming the first one for me. I think it's going to be more of just to see what happens. So I'll probably check that one out from the library. And then with this one, like I said, hopefully it can find a home with somebody who loves it. The next book actually goes completely against what I said about my books just not being on my shelf anymore, and that would be Fireborne. And I freaking loved this book, so I'm not getting rid of it because I thought it was garbage. Or I don't think most of these books are. I don't think the books are garbage. They just aren't always suiting my taste. But Fireborne absolutely suited my taste. It was as close to perfection, I feel like, as you can get with political fantasy. I loved it so much, and this is the Book of the Month edition, and this will have a sequel eventually. And I don't think that the Book of the Month is going to have the sequel as well, because I don't think it's a big enough book. The Folk of the Air trilogy, you know, Queen of Nothing came out and they had where you could get that one. And so I just would rather, I know it's dumb, but I would rather have them match. But also, I know that it's a little unnecessary, but I just feel like I so loved this book, and it was a debut, that for me to have somebody else, hopefully, eventually, when I take the book in, to have somebody else discover this book, somebody else can love it, and then I can purchase the book again. That will help the author. Plus, there's so many awesome online, like bookshop.org is really amazing. You can still support local bookstores online. You can have the books delivered to you, things like that. So it'll help a bookstore, it'll help Rosaria Munda, and I'll get the book again. Next up is another book that I actually adore, but I found an edition that I liked better, and that would be Burial Rites by Hannah Kent. This is a historical fiction story that follows the last woman to be executed in Iceland. It is heavily based in real events. In fact, throughout the book, between chapters, you do get pieces of real documents, and man, those are super hard hitting. This book is fantastic, and I don't have anything against this edition, but I found a very beautiful edition at one of my local used bookstores that I had been looking for a long time. And while I do enjoy having multiple editions pretty often, this is one where, I don't know, I don't really need this edition. Now on to the giveaway book, and that would be Rage of Dragons. I especially felt like I should do a giveaway for this one because of the fact that this book was sent to me, and I don't know, I just feel like if it was sent to me, I don't know, I should pass it along and send it to someone else. So I'm actually going to have 2 winners. I have something that I'm doing where all of the book, any profit I get from book sales of my book, I am going to put towards putting that back into the community, whether that's supporting local bookstores or trying to commission artists to do artwork for books that maybe don't have as much, things like that. And one of the things I want to do is I'm going to send this to a winner in the US, but I also want international friends to have the chance as well. So those individuals, if you win and you're international, I'll just buy you a copy from Book Depository and have it shipped to you. So to enter, all you have to do in the comments, you want to include Rage of Dragons in your comment and then say which country you're in. If you're in the US, you'll be entered to win this copy, and then if you're international, you'll get a copy from Book Depository. And if you are US, I'm sorry that I can't do this for international people, but, and maybe the US person, if you don't even want this, that's fine, but I thought it would be kind of fun to write out a little note and tell you kind of what the colors mean with these tabs, because I thought it would maybe be kind of amusing for whoever the winner is when they pick up the book, because I didn't really care for this book, but I think it'll be really funny for you. Hopefully you'll love it, whoever wins, and then you'll be like, man, she took issue with like, you'll just find it really amusing, hopefully, how annoyed I was. This is a book that I by no means think it was absolutely terrible or anything like that. I just so couldn't stand the main character. I couldn't stand the main character, and it's pretty much just his point of view. I think he's the kind of character that I would have liked so much more if I got so much less of him. I think this book would have fit my taste a lot more had there been other point of views, because the world was really interesting, the magic was really interesting, and I wanted to learn more about that. But we follow a character who is very set on revenge, and this particular character, a lot of the story is kind of them leveling up and also just being really angry and putting other people's lives in harm's way in their pursuit of revenge, and that aggravated me so much. But I know a lot of people completely love this book, and a lot of people would love to have this book. So I'll have the details in case you need them again for the giveaway in the description bar down below. If that didn't hurt some of you, then I feel like this next one, you're gonna be like, no, you're gonna be so frustrated, but I'm sorry. Okay, I gotta call it quits here because I just don't like these. And I know that these editions are editions that other people will see at their bookstore, the local bookstores, and be like, oh yes, I've been wanting that edition. And that would be Malazan. The majority of the fandom, you all were so fun, and reading the first book especially, because I didn't really get to interact with all of you reading Dead House Gates, but reading the first one alongside so many of you was so much fun. But it was kind of the highlight of the reading experience, was reading it alongside so many of you, because I very much didn't care for Gardens of the Moon, and I was told by so many people that it gets better, and while there were elements of Dead House Gates that I liked more, I still really can't stand Steven Erikson's form of storytelling. It's just, it doesn't click with me whatsoever. It's so based around this world. And from what I understand, he's an anthropologist. So I think that he absolutely understands the rise and fall of civilizations. And I think that shows in a lot of the world building and the little bits and pieces of things that you get that the characters are kind of going through in their travels or when they go to certain cities. But I prefer a more intimate form of storytelling. I like to like characters. And I found myself in the second one, I know you guys are waiting for the review. I will eventually get a review up. But I found myself liking the most unlikable character the most, because at least I had some emotions about that character. And that's not really how I want to feel when I'm reading a book. If you're wondering, Felicen, that chick, oh my gosh. But at least every time I got to her, I was like, ah, this chick. But what's going down with her? And to be clear, I'm not saying I need to love characters in order to be interested in what's going on with them. I'm just saying that I want to be fascinated by those characters in some way if I'm not rooting for them. And they just don't work for me in that fashion. So I had a while ago found these huge, awesome editions from one of my local used bookstores, and I thought at the time I was really excited for it, but it's a long series, and I have a lot going on. And I just don't have the time to read a bunch of books that I'm really not caring for. The last book is one that I really contemplated whether or not I wanted to take it in because there were elements of it that I thought were very powerful, but something about it just didn't quite work for me, and that would be Girls of Paper and Fire. I may at some point pick up the sequel. I've heard pretty mixed things from some of you about the sequel. I asked you all about it over on Instagram, and some people were like, no, don't read the sequel, and some people were like, I loved it. So this is a story about this girl who ends up being taken and forced into basically being a part of a harem for the leader of their kingdom. And that's a pretty dark setup, and I do think the author handled that with care. Also, this particular character ends up finding comfort and love with, well, she has friendship with another character, and then she ends up kind of having a romance with another character who is also a part of this harem. And I think that they handled so many things in the story with so much care, and those are the parts that I really appreciated. But weirdly, I'm not at all saying that fantasy books shouldn't explore difficult topics. It's just that this is a story that I think the author had such cool, interesting ideas about the world, and then also had this really powerful story over here. And for some reason, I just felt like there was a disconnect between those two things. It's not that it wasn't well ingrained into the story, but something about it, I either wanted this to be a story with really cool world building where we could explore the world more, or I wanted it to be way longer and just sit in the sadness of this predicament. Not that I'm saying I absolutely love watching people be so sad. I'm not saying that. I just there was just, I wanted more, I guess. I wanted this to be longer and a standalone. I think that right now, the way that the ending of this one is set up, it's set up for something slightly more epic in scope, and I think it's going to be a trilogy. I don't know. I just think that it had such powerful moments, and I wish that we could have just sat in those things more. That's it though. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will have, again, the details for the giveaway linked down below. But anyway, I'll see you guys later.